Welcome to the Incred podcast.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Our session today is on studying in the US, where we will tell you everything you need to know when you are pursuing education abroad. So joining us for this session is Mr. Sumeet Jain. He's the co-founder of Yorkit, which is one of the leading overseas education consultant company in India. He started Yorkit in 2015 with two more of his partners in crime, and today Yorkit has over 1 million users. So welcome to the session, Sumeet. We're very glad to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, great. So to begin with, Sumeet, my first question to you is, US is one of the most sought after destinations for students when they want to study abroad. But it is considered quite an expensive choice. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, it is expensive. But what I can say is that you need to evaluate it with return on investment. And what are you comparing with? When you say it's expensive, what are you comparing it with? So US, usually most of the students that we see are going for STEM degrees. STEM education anywhere is going to be similarly priced. Especially with US, it's a 2-year course, so that is why you would feel that the cost is high. But if you compare it with any other country for 2 years, it's going to be similar. But how do you actually make a return on that investment is important. And with a US STEM degree, you get a 3 years OPT, which makes it extremely easy for you to work in the US for 3 years and earn back that money. So I would say it's not expensive. It's a great investment. So I look at it from that point.
Okay, great. And what is the typical admission procedure in the US?
Admission procedure, I think you need to start preparing a bit early. It's not like all the process that we have been all used to is like you wait for one exam, you take that one exam, what scores you get, you apply with that score. Many people mistake the same process over here, but that's a bit different here. So you have a standardized test that has to be taken. That's like a GRE or GMAT. Not every college requires it, but most of them do require this. You also need to take an English language test. So that is could be an IELTS or a TOEFL. So once you take these tests, you need to apply to the schools. You need to apply to schools. You need to be prepared with your essays. You need to be prepared with LORs. You need to be prepared with your transcripts as well from your colleges. All of this together, you need to have like your application docket ready. You apply to different. Again, the process is different for different universities. So you need to apply separately to different universities, the ones which you want to go for. There are different deadlines, so be very careful of those deadlines. And after that, I think you should be well prepared and not wait till the last date for deadlines. Once you're done with your application, I think then you just need to wait and sit back and wait for the decisions. Meanwhile, when you're waiting for your decisions, you better be prepared with your financials. So if you're going to be self-financing, make sure that you have enough liquid with you. If you're taking a loan, make sure that you apply for a loan and keep all your documents ready. So that after, once you have an admit, you need to call for an I-20. So I-20 is the invitation letter that the university sends you. So that for you to call for an I-20, you need to show your proof of funds. And for that, you require either your liquid fund, self-fund. If you're taking a loan, then you require a sanction letter. After that I-20 is done, then you start your visa process and you apply for an appointment with the embassy. And if everything's great on the day of visa, you get your visa and ready to fly off.
Great. That sounds quite an overwhelming procedure. So when would you say would be the right time to start preparing for education in the US?
I would say it's never too early to start. So I would at least say that you start a year. So if you want to apply for the fall 2022, so that is let's say you want to start your term in August 22, you should start by now. This is the latest. Like I think November would be the latest. Before that, you need to start. You should have already started with most of the things.
Okay. Okay. And actually, I was planning to take the entire funding piece later, but since you brought up the point of having your funds ready, would you recommend that people take a loan even though they would sort of find it affordable? But does it make sense to always opt for a loan provider when it comes to funding?
I wouldn't say always. It depends a lot on what is your, what's your financial status, what's your financial health, how do you look at it. Many times, students. This is like, let's talk about people who can afford it and still want to take a loan. In such cases, I would say that it's good for student to take a loan and go. We've been so used to using parents' funds, but let's make a more responsible decision now and use your own funds. Take a loan on yourself and go for it. Makes you much more responsible when you're repaying it back. So that's a good way to go about it. Also, if you're applying with your own funds, there is some TCS that you need to pay. Whereas with loan, you don't need to pay for the you don't need either. The TCS is quite low there, so that is helpful. Also, the interest rates are quite attractive nowadays. Many students are getting at a very low rate of interest, so it could also be a good financial decision many times when you have things which are parked in certain different investments. So if you want to be breaking those investments, it might not be the right time for you to break those investments. So uh, I think it is something decision which each one has to take according to their own profile.
Right, right. And can you tell us, which are the most sought after locations or universities in the US that you've seen in your decades of experience?
So there are many universities. I wouldn't be able to point out any single university, but I can say that some of the top regions which you would say that the they have been traditionally very popular. I would say you could say California has been one of the popular ones. Texas has been quite popular. East Coast has been quite popular on the sense if I say New York is popular. Of course, all of us have some or the other time seen New York somewhere or the other. There is hardly anyone who has not seen a picture from New York. So New York is quite popular. Massachusetts is quite popular. East Coast, a lot of those on East Coast. New Jersey is quite popular. So these are quite popular. But again, all said and done, it's not that you look at only these universities. You need to make sure that you are making a right choice according to the profile that you have and your career aspirations that you have. There could be a school somewhere in a different region, but it can be a great school, and it's a great school for your profile. You should definitely look at that rather than just looking at the region.
Okay. And from a cultural standpoint, do you have any picks for people who want to feel closer to home?
Stay home then. I think the purpose if you're going out is to explore is of course I'm sure you're going for a world class education, but that also comes with having an open mind. Yeah, it's not that difficult to find everything Indian nowadays over there. So that's not a difficult task at all. I think it's going to be difficult for you to keep an open mind and be accepting of different cultures. Yes, a lot of people do face culture shock when they're going there, but I would say that prepare yourself mentally when you're going. Because this is something which you have to get used to when you're going there. If you plan to even work over there, you are going to meet people from different cultures, different ethnicity, different nationality, different views. So it's always good to keep that open mind.
Okay. US is home to one of the top, some of the top institutions in the world, in fact. So it's a natural choice for many students, not just from India, but other countries as well, to pick US as one of their choices. So how can one ensure that they stay ahead of the competition? Now, their profile is extremely, it stands out from the rest.
So I think one great way would be to join Yocket. That's what we at Yocket are trying to help students with, making sure that you're putting your best foot forward, you're putting your best, projecting the best of yourself ahead. But yeah, I believe that what you should be looking at is the best fit school for yourself. When you're doing that, you will come to realize that all of this, of course, it is quite competitive. But if you're looking and you are applying to the right kind of schools, it is going to be much easier for you. Of course, you have to be well prepared. Also, your CATs should be matching. Your essays should be coherent with your plans, with your profile. You should have, like if you should be a great candidate for the same. So you should make sure that you are taking some initiatives, doing some great projects, industry projects as well. If you're taking some internships, very relevant internship, you need to do. You have to make sure that you're doing all of those things as well. If you're trying to project yourself outside this crowd.
Okay. And coming to scholarships, US does offer quite a few lucrative ones. Could you give us some more information on the scholarships?
So scholarships, if you look at master's level, you don't see a lot of scholarships where you can say you get a complete free ride, where schools are offering you complete scholarship. At undergraduate level, there are a lot more scholarships on need-based, merit-based. But at master's level, it's going to be most of them are merit-based only. And you can also, like I would tell students to not just look at scholarships but also look at assistantships when you are applying for master's courses, because they can be a great way for you to fund your education. Scholarship, there is a limited amount of pool which everyone is looking out for, very competitive. Who doesn't love free money? Everyone would want to have that, but it's not that easy to get that, right? So and it's not a huge amount which is there, because even if it's a scholarship, there is someone paying for it, right? So and there are so many people eyeing for that. Whereas you can also look at assistantships where you can work in a specific department, work with a professor, help a professor out, can help you strengthen your profile as well as help you get good money there.
Okay.
And most of the schools don't have a special application for scholarships. Many times they might have some requisites for scholarships. You might have to write an extra essay for that. But otherwise, you can have. Otherwise, you would be considered for scholarships with your application itself.
Okay. Okay. Coming to the living expenses, if you had to give us a ballpark number, how much should one be prepared, or how much should one actually set aside for their living expenses there?
I think I can't give you a ballpark number again, because there are two extremes. You can stay in a city like downtown New York. You can stay in California, and you can. It's going to be extremely expensive. You might stay in a college town, and you can make a much lesser. You might need to pay much lesser. Again, depends again also on your lifestyle. How do you want to stay? There are people who are willing to be very frugal, and there are people who want to eat out, travel, stay alone, not share rooms. So that depends again how are you staying. So depending on all of that, you need to budget yourselves. Again, whatever is the amount on your I-20, I think that could be the extreme. I don't think you should spend more than that. It will depend on locations. If you're staying, which city you stay. According to that, I-20s they have a good estimate, but that is the highest. I think you can look at something around 60% of what comes on your I-20. As Indian students, I know how they live, so that I think should be good.
Okay, okay. That should help. My next question is about working while you are studying. Do you think that takes away from how much time you would allot to actually studying, or do you think you would recommend studying, working while you're studying?
So when you say working while studying, are you asking working full time?
No, like short stints, how people while studying, any odd jobs that they could do?
Okay, so that's a very good this thing. A lot of students do have this question about working while studying. So by law in the US, you're not allowed to work while studying off campus. So even if you want to, don't do that. So that I think you should not do that. That's something which is illegal to work off campus. On campus, you can study up to 20. You can work up to 20 hours per week, and that's a good way for you to make any additional money to fund your education. So I would suggest that you should take that thing up. Again, do not do it at the cost of your academics. That is extremely important because that's a much bigger investment that you're making than the money that you're going to be getting. So that's why again, even if you are working on campus, take a job which is a bit more relevant to what you are studying. Maybe take it in that department if it's possible. That will help you rather than taking completely odd. And of course, even if it's a completely odd job, it's absolutely fine if it helps you fund your education and it's not interfering with your studies.
Right. And what's the kind of minimum wage one can expect?
I think minimum wages again are there are laws for the minimum wages there as well. Different states have their own minimum wages. But you are going for a masters, you are a skilled labor, you should not be worried about that. You should be able to do much better. I can tell you that if someone is uh, working as full time, if you start your job in the US for full time, even at the start, it should not be surprising to see someone getting 120,000 dollars a year. So that should not be a very surprising thing. Quite this thing common to get that amount.
That's great. If you just had to give like your 5 tips for anyone who wants to study in the US to prep them, what would those be?
I think my first tip is going to be that be on your kit, be active on your kit. I think that takes care of a lot of things, a lot of your other things. Second, I think try start early. It's never bad because a lot of unforeseen delays would come in. You would have not prepared for a lot of things. So start early. I think that again a very important thing. Third thing is plan well. A lot of times I've seen people fail because of not planning properly. Of course, that includes planning finances as well, which is as important as that. Then fourth, I think is going to be making sure you apply to the right kind of schools. A lot of people I've seen struggle because they don't choose the right colleges, right schools for themselves. They just look at what their peers are doing and apply to those same things. They want to do the same thing what they are doing, but they don't look at it from their own profile and then apply accordingly. So apply properly. Final thing I think is make sure that you are not copying anything. A lot of people I see keep asking around for the SOPs, for S letters, all of that. Plagiarism is not just looked down upon, and it can be really, really detrimental to your career if it's found out later as well. So, given the habit of plagiarism, I don't think you should indulge in any of that form, even from your application days. So, make sure that you are used to doing things on your own and trying to come up with your original story rather than copying someone else's SOP.
Right. Great. I think all of these points really help. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much.